this is an attempt to help with STA 6113, Dr. Lieberman's course for the one-way factorial ANOVA. And so first I'm going to apologize if you hear my kids running around in the background. For the factorial ANOVA, there are a few files on Canvas that Dr. Lieberman has uploaded. One is the file, if you look at the top, it says Lab for One-Way Analysis of Variance, ANOVA. There is also within the ZIP midterm review files, Lab for Comments. There is also a terms lecture notes, one-way analysis of variance, which is what ANOVA stands for. And you'll note that the syllabus also has this corresponding to Andy Field's book in regards to chapter 12. So the first thing is to define our one-way ANOVA, and we define it that it's determining an F ratio between within groups of variance. And so the example that is given on the John D. Morris has to do with the brands of light bulbs and how many hours they burned for. And so that research question corresponds with that. So we have, is there a significant difference in, and that's always our research questions are going to ask for the significant difference. Then you're going to identify your target population, and you're going to identify your sample size and determine how you or explain how you chose your sample size. And there's some important things that Dr. Lieberman pointed out in the lab notes. The ANOVA has assumptions that must be met. So before, when we were running our t-test, we could kind of willy-nilly pick sample sizes and just pick a random sampling of people. But the assumptions of the ANOVA in regards to the independent selection of participants, it's important to denote that it cannot be just mere random sampling. So how you choose your sample subjects, hypothetically, because we're running the lab with fictitious data, but how you justify how you would choose your subjects depends on your research question. Another assumption of the ANOVA, and these must be met in order for the procedure to be run, is that there's homogeneity of variance. And we're looking at the Levine's test. One of the questions I originally had about the Levine's test is, if I run my Levine's test and it's greater than our alpha of 0.05, then I have determined that the Levine's test shows that there's homogeneity of variance, but I've also rejected my null. And then when I ran actual data for this lab, my null was not rejected. And it was, Dr. Lieberman explained that that is actually a good thing, because we need to determine that there's homogeneity of variance and for the assumption of the ANOVA, and then we're interpreting our results of our data runs in regards to was it or was it not significant. The other assumption of the run or of the ANOVA is normality, and that's no skewness or kurtosis and what have you. All right, so I'm going to try not to bog down on definitions of things, and just kind of go through how we enter this onto the SPSS. And I'm on the virtual FAU app here, and we're going to go to variable view. And for the ANOVA, you're going to have the independent variable is going to have 3 grouping factors. So we have an independent variable and a dependent variable. So let's first do our independent variable, and we are going to go scores on crossword puzzle. And you recall that if you enter certain things in this naming component of SPSS, it will say spaces, asterisks, etc. aren't accepted. So scores, and I'm going to do CW for crossword. If we were actually running something really salient to our research or what have you, we obviously would want to label it and not rely on our own memory. So scores on crossword puzzle. And what I put here in this labeling column is totally for my own view, and you will not see it going forward. And so the scores on the crossword puzzle, that's my dependent variable. So I don't have any values here. Okay, so I'm done entering that. Note I'm in the variable view down here. Otherwise it is won't make sense. Okay, and then here we are going to measure distractions. Okay, so we have a level of distractions while completing the morning crossword puzzle. So a research question could look something like this. Is there a significant difference in participant scores on the morning crossword puzzle among people who have a low level of distraction, a moderate level of distraction, and a high level of distraction? So let's enter those independent variable groupings here. So I'm going to assign a value of number 1 here, and I'm going to label it low distraction. Would help if I could type without an error. Variable number 2, I'm going to label moderate distraction. And variable number 3, I'm going to label a high level of distraction. Like you would note that if you heard my child just walk in the room, that would be a high level of distraction. Okay, and then we click OK. Now we can get out of the variable view. We have our dependent variable of our scores on the crossword and our independent variable with our 3 groupings, and we've labeled those. So now we go to data view, you can see them up here. Okay, so now we need to enter in our actual fictitious data, and I apologize if you hear my typing as we do this. And I am just going down this list here and typing in the corresponding variable score. So when I film the next portion, we'll continue with the scores and the crossword level scores already being entered and the distractions already being entered, and we'll go from there.